Good morning. We have a particularly intense agenda today with the ministers. First and foremost, we'll hear from Boris Johnson, debrief on Salisbury. I would expect that we'll say something in the course of the morning, so you will hear a renewed EU position in that respect. What is absolutely clear is our full solidarity with the United Kingdom and our extreme concern about what has happened that is really unacceptable. We'll have a point on the agenda to start with on Ukraine. I was in Kiev exactly 1 week ago to pass a message of full support both to the full implementation of the Minsk agreements, the non-recognition policy of the annexation of Crimea that we consider illegal and we do not recognize, and also our full support of the reform agenda of Ukraine. We'll discuss that with ministers, and I would expect we will reconfirm our full support, both political, financial, to the country. We will have then a special guest, Staffan de Mistura, Special Envoy of the United Nations on Syria, will update us on the state of play. Looks rather bleak, to say the least. It will be important to prepare with the United Nations our upcoming Brussels conference that is going to happen at the end of April. It will be very important to use it to call for full implementation of the latest UN Security Council resolution. We see developments on the ground are getting worse, and our full support to ceasefire and calling for the Astana guarantors to guarantee what they have agreed, including the escalation zones. Last but not least, we have another 2 points. I told you today it's a busy agenda. We'll finish late. We will have at lunch the Foreign Minister of South Korea, who will debrief us on the state of play, on the talks that are going to start with a summit between the two presidents, the open invitation to President Trump for a summit also with DPRK. The European Union has the toughest sanctions regime ever on DPRK, but we've always intended to have sanctions to encourage dialogue. So we will discuss with her ways in which the European Union can support these diplomatic efforts at the best. And last but not least, we will have a point on Iran. We had the Joint Commission monitoring the implementation of the nuclear deal just on Friday. I'll update the ministers on the good results we had during this meeting, and we'll discuss ways in which we can keep the full implementation of the nuclear deal with Iran.
Do you see a common resolution against Russia? To talk about the sanctions that France, Britain and Germany are going to propose against Iran.
No, there's no proposal of sanctions, additional sanctions against Iran. The focus today will be on the full implementation, continuing the full implementation of the nuclear deal, all the three, but also Russia, China, the United States and Iran just Friday assessed that the deal is being implemented and that we all stay committed to the full implementation of it. So the focus will be this today. Obviously, we have, as you know very well, other issues we discuss with Iran separately, and it's important to keep this separately. And in particular, obviously, as we discuss Syria or we discuss regional issues, the role of Iran comes on the table. But it's extremely important to keep the nuclear deal separated from the discussions we have on regional issues. And as I said, it's clearly not a matter of adding sanctions. No proposals in this respect today, and no decision clearly.
In relation to Russia, will there be additional sanctions? Will there be a common resolution in relation to Russia and the Skripal case?
Today, as I said, first and foremost, we will listen from Boris Johnson. I was in contact with him the very same day, and we agreed that he would debrief the ministers. We'll have a discussion, and as I said, I expect you will hear from us all together, 28, in the course of the morning with common positions.
Federica, can you give me a sense of whether you think there will be unity from all 28 on the situation with Russia, and what you think might be a proportionate response?
I always expect unity, and so far I've never disappointed you.
Yesterday, Turkish military controlled the Afrin, and 1 million people evacuated this city. Are you worried about this?
So many things to worry about. Sure, I am worried about this. We have, from the beginning, stated that military escalations, military activities not targeted directly against Daesh or al-Nusra the listed UN terrorist organizations should be absolutely avoided, because the common sense and the common work was aiming at de-escalating the military activities and not escalating them. This was first and foremost the attempt that the three guarantors of the Astana process, Turkey, Russia and Iran, started in Astana. We welcome that, and we now call for coherence. If you worked on the escalation zones, you are expected to work on the escalation zones and guarantee that that is what happens on the ground. We'll discuss this, as I said, with the UN Special Envoy, with Staffan de Mistura, and you'll hear from me more in the course of the afternoon. Thank you.
On ballistic missiles,
Last.
do you expect today the start of a discussion that will, over time, lead to more pressure on Iran and those terrorists?
As you know, the European Union has sanctions in place on Iran for non-nuclear related issues. This is already there. So far, I do not expect, at the moment, I do not expect discussions on further sanctions to be started, as I mentioned already. And as I said, I would expect today the discussion to be focused first and foremost on how to keep the full implementation of the nuclear deal as it is being fully implemented now, also for the future, especially following a very good joint commission we had on Friday, all together, with all the parties and with Iran. So I think the main message today will be this: stay the course on the full implementation of the nuclear deal, and separately address regional issues, including issues related to the ballistic missiles, on which the European Union has always had a very clear position. And let me say, we have a high-level political dialogue with Iran addressing the regional issues. That is something substantial, especially on Yemen, leading to some good results, I would say, encouraging, not good yet, but encouraging. So I will expect the discussion to be focused mainly on that. Thank you.
Une petite question s'il vous plaît.